Hi, so I'm an ex/recovering hikikomori and a current NEET who's currently trying to rebuild my life from absolutely nothing. And this is the Q&A video that I promised, where I will answer questions about myself, my life circumstances that led me to where I am, my interests, my beliefs, and all of that shit. There weren't enough questions from the audience due to the fact that this channel is quite small at the moment, which I'm not angry at the people for, because it's not their fault. But because there weren't enough questions for a full Q&A, I'm going to be coming up with questions of my own that I think to answer that I think will be of interest. Okay, so let's get into this shit. So this person asks if I've ever worked. I've never worked or had a job because of a lot of the fucked up circumstances that I'm in. This isn't like a voluntary thing. They talk about my parents being alcoholics and ask if they work. My parents used to work. My dad used to work as a window cleaner and my mum worked as a HR advisor. So my mum was the main provider for the family. While working, she paid into her pension, so she managed to become redundant eventually and just live off of her pension. But there's obviously a limited amount, you know. So it's like we're not impoverished, but we're not rich. We're like working class. So like there is like it's not. So like my parents, specifically my mum, are very careful with money because of like the limited amount. So if you think that they're just like completely happy with me being here, they're not. Again, this is not like a voluntary thing. They also ask if I play any video games. No, I don't play any video games. My parents wouldn't allow me to play a lot of the types of video games that I wanted to play. They wouldn't buy me a lot of things when I was younger. And like the video games that I did play were kind of fucking shit that they would let me play. So I never really enjoyed it, and I always got frustrated with it as well. So I never really got into gaming and shit like that. Largely because my parents wouldn't buy a lot of that shit for me. And this like kind of affected my ability to make friends, because when like a lot of the kids at school would be talking about like the games they played, I couldn't get involved. So there was really nothing I could connect to, because I had like nothing in common with anyone. And that ended up like affecting my social development in a very negative way. They then ask me if my music creation aspiration doesn't take traction, what am I going to do as an alternative? Music isn't my main goal anymore. It isn't my main goal. It is partly. I gave that up a long time ago. I am thinking of making some music as like a part of what I do, but it's not going to be the main thing that I do. The main thing I'm going to do is this channel, like mainly videos and hopefully streaming. Like my main goal is to go on to make videos and then start streaming, and like hopefully I'll have an audience of people that will support me and give me, you know, money. But not like, I don't want to sound greedy or anything, but like I am partially, you know, I would like to go on to do that essentially. In terms of alternatives, there is really no alternative. But I have no other alternative. This person asks what instruments I play, if any. So I used to play like a synthesizer keyboard and MIDI keyboard, but I would mainly produce electronic music using music production software such as like FL Studio. I used to make like experimental like electronic music and just like a variety of like electronic music and like kind of stuff that was influenced by a lot of the underground SoundCloud cloud trap type shit, combined with like just electronic music stuff that I was into, like ambient music and IDM and shit like that. In the past I only produce. I'm going to produce but I'm the instrumentals, but I'm also going to try and do vocals, which is going to be kind of difficult because I've never like done vocals before. So that's going to be a new thing. They also asked how much music I made previously. Most of it, if not all of it, is unfinished. They asked a desert island disc question as well. Essentially, if I was like stranded and I could only have 3 albums or releases with me, what 3 would I choose? I'll count digital videos if, for example, you like mixes or what you have on YouTube. Let me actually fucking think about that. So I'm currently looking at my Spotify like automated playlists, and it is currently showing playlists of like cloud rap type shit and emo rap type shit, such as like Cemetery, Lil Peep, shit like that, and Blade and Bones and stuff like that. So I guess like because this is like the stuff I'm just currently listening to, so I guess any playlist with shit like that, I guess. I can't really answer that question because I just listen to so much music. Okay, this one says, what was your daily routine like? I have no daily routine. I just generally browse online, watch videos, listen to music, read stuff online, and lurk social media. And I do this until I feel tired enough to go to sleep. They ask what I am doing differently now, and all that. And what is the point of joining the rat race when you will never keep up? I'm not doing much different now, to be honest. I was going outside and interacting with people for a while, and I was working on improving my circumstances, but I haven't seen much improvement, and I've basically fallen back into being a bit more of a shut-in recently. Plus, I've spent a lot of the bit of money that I did have, so now that I don't have that much money left, so I don't really have much money to like go out with now. I'm not going to join the rat race, as you call it. I'm planning to do this stuff. I'm not planning on like being a part of like a regular 9 to 5. Like, I plan on doing this channel instead as my like way of making money. They ask how did I support myself before. I didn't support myself. My parents supported me, reluctantly, by the way. This isn't something that I or they are happy about. This is like kind of, I have no other option. And there's a lot of tension at home between me and my family due to this like circumstance that I'm in. They don't do it out of like kindness. The reason they do it is because, look, I'm gonna be real. If they were gonna kick me out, I would probably put up a fight. And they just don't want to have to deal with that shit, and it's like, so they just like kind of reluctantly like support me. But like, it's not like there isn't any like fighting or shit like that, or that they're completely happy with it. It's just I'm not in. Like, I've tried talking to them about helping me like with my situation, but as I'm gonna go into at some point, I have like they just act like fucking cunts to me. So it's kind of like they want me to like improve my situation, but when it needs their support, when in order for me to improve my situation it requires their support, they don't want to give it. So I'm kind of just like trapped in the situation I'm in. This person asks, what kind of lifestyle would you like to have? The lifestyle I want is essentially a relaxing, stress and worry-free lifestyle with a decent amount of money that I will earn hopefully from this channel and this online presence that I'm gonna have. I basically just want to kind of like create content and stream and like make money from it, and like honestly live a comfortable life. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with me wanting that. I don't want to live a normal life. I currently live a life that is I currently don't live a normal life, but I live a life that is abnormally bad, and I would actually like to go on to live a life that is abnormally good. The reason why I want to live an abnormally good life and be like quite successful compared to like the average person is because I believe that in this culture that we're in currently, as a guy, the only other options other than being an extremely successful person, I hate to sound like Andrew Tate, but like it is essentially being treated as a slave and living in a state of servitude and being walked over by people. You know, living in a state of servitude for a society and people that hate you. You're expected to just allow people to walk over you, mistreat you. No one really cares about your well-being or anything like that. And like most people kind of fucking look, I don't have a very positive view of life or people. Most people kind of fucking suck. So you have to deal with like normies fucking suck. Normal shits fucking suck. And having to deal with them and be in a situation where you are limited to either the people in your local environment or just like in your city is fucking hell. So I would prefer to be in a situation where I have enough money and freedom to associate with who I want and not have to deal with society's bullshit. It's very, it's very like, very big goals, especially for a person in the situation that I'm currently in, but I'm hoping that if I keep putting effort into this channel, I'll be able to get closer to that goal. This person says, "Bro, what are you doing moving back and forth like that?" It's called stimming. This person says, "Sorry you didn't get the support that you needed. It seems like everyone around you really let you down throughout your life. I used to feel similarly resentful, but I considered that maybe the people who let me down were also let down by the people they counted on. Some people don't know how to give love and support because they were never shown it themselves in the first place. Just offering a different perspective." I appreciate the comment, and I know you're not malicious or anything, but I personally don't think that's the reason why a lot of people um are the way they are. I think we socially incentivize a lot of people in society to be narcissistic fucks and to be just shitty fucking ignorant people. And people will just do what they're socially incentivized to. I don't really think there is that much to say other than that. I know you're not being malicious or anything. That's just my personal opinion. They ask, when can we hear samples of your music? I've included my music in previous videos. At some point though. And then they ask, what philosophy helps you endure the neat life? I'm a mindful pragmatist. I focus only on the things I can change and make improvements where I can. I am very pessimistic, cynical, and honestly kind of misanthropic. This isn't like a philosophy I've necessarily like adopted through just like tons of reading or anything. It's just life kind of just pushed me. It's just pushed me to feel that way. It's just I kind of just observe. I know this sounds kind of arrogant, but I just kind of observe reality, and that's like the what I how I end up feeling as a result of life. Like I'm pessimistic and cynical and misanthropic, but it's not by choice. It's because I've kind of been pushed to feel that way by life. The reason why I'm cynical is because throughout life, what I observe, I just notice that most people, not all, but most people are just really fucking shitty. People tend to be very narcissistic, in which they don't really give a fucking shit. Like, people tend to care about two things: themselves and social status. Is a lot of people don't really care about others, and if they do, it's not because of like any like legitimate reasons such as they're a good person, or that, something like that. It's because of like some very arbitrary superficial indications of social status, and are completely hostile and disregard the existence of anyone that doesn't have those indications of social status, that do not conform to certain social norms. And you get treated like absolute fucking shit if you're a person who doesn't conform to what is socially acceptable. You're not part of the little exclusive club. And this is gonna sound arrogant, but a lot of people are just kind of fucking ignorant. A lot of people are just ignorant. And yeah, that's just the that's just it. And for that reason I have a very negative view of people and society. The reason why I'm pessimistic is because, one, I think a lot of people kind of fucking suck. And then also, I realize that a lot of life success is kind of determined by a lot of things outside of your control in life. A lot of things outside of your control do determine your success in life. And it also determines how people treat you. And it also determines the opportunities that you're given. Which means that for a lot of people, um, including myself, social mobility and being able to live a happy life is a very unlikely thing, and that's a pretty fucking depressing thing. Now, that's not to say I don't believe in trying or anything like that, but it's just like a pretty fucking harsh reality. And like a lot of people like me are fucking suffering, and no one fucking cares. And for a lot of people like me, it's very unlikely to get better. Now, I'm gonna try and make it get better, but it's gonna be a very difficult uphill battle, and there's a lot of people that aren't gonna be able to get to have a better life. And it's like, I don't know how I'm supposed to fucking feel about that. Like, it's a pretty fucking depressing way to look at things, but it's just true. Like, the truth is, if you're a guy in today's society, and you have mental issues, or you are, you're ugly as shit, or you're like low social status in some way, you're basically fucking treated like complete fucking shit by society. And you're essentially expected to live as a slave and in servitude to the society and people that hate you. And you're not really given any fucking support or anything like that with any difficulty you experience in life, and you're essentially expected to serve others. And it seems like that, how the lower your social status, the more of a slave and more in servitude you are, and the higher your social status, the less responsibility you have, which is pretty fucking ironic. Shouldn't the people who have more difficulty in life have less of the expectation of servitude? The people that have less ability to that have more difficulty and less ability and power, shouldn't they really have less of an expectation to be a slave? Now many people might think that sounds selfish or entitled, but this is like kind of how we are supposed to think about things, right? Because I'm not saying, right, you should not help or do anything nice for anyone. What I am saying is the expectation that is put on a lot of people like me is very disproportionate to the actual ability that we have based on the difficulties of our own lives. And the other issue is that the people we're expected to help are the people a lot of the time that mistreat us and marginalize us, which doesn't make sense, because I believe there should be social consequences for these types of people, and I don't think we should be expected to fucking like benefit them. Now, I'm not like saying, right, you shouldn't like try and like do anything with your life. Well, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that there's this whole expectation that you're supposed to work hard, hustle, grind, spend all your time working extremely long hours, um neglecting your own well-being for like societal expectations, essentially. And that's like complete fucking bullshit. This has caused me to have a very negative view on life. So me being very pessimistic and having a negative view of this, while there may be negatives, I think there are some positives. Such as when you realize how rigged the fucking society is, you're more likely to prepare, you're more likely to try and use more unconventional methods of gaining success, such as like what I'm doing now. And many of those methods, if they are successful, may lead to you having a much greater success in life than if you were to just go through the typical, more conventional ways of finding success in society. So yeah, being pessimistic can also lead to you having more realistic and pragmatic understanding of how to deal with problems. Being cynical of other people also can have benefits in which it helps you avoid being harmed or being exploited by other people, and it makes you more careful with who you associate with. And it means you will be more careful and not like associate with people that fuck you over. A lot of the more conventional ways of going about things are not a good idea. You might be more willing to go about things in a more unconventional way, which could lead to better outcomes for you. But I also believe that you should, and this kind of goes to the point I was making earlier, but you should not work hard, you should work smart. A lot of who are very successful in society are successful either because they have like advantages that give them a leg up or make it easier for them, or they work smart, or it was a mixture of both. But it's very rarely working hard. If you look at in terms of work, let's ignore like advantages people have. When it comes to people being successful due to effort, it's usually due to like working smart or having a good idea or a clever or creative idea rather than like like working long hours or going through hardship or experiencing going through loads of shit, working long hours, pushing yourself to the limit. Yeah, this fucking shit doesn't usually lead to much success, really. And a lot of the time, working smart and cutting corners is what leads to success. And a lot of people who fucking like really internalize this fucking mindset shit, think you're supposed to like just live a fucking shit, miserable life. Like, all it really does is just cause you to have a breakdown or become overwhelmed with like chronic stress. Whereas working smart gets the maximum amount of results without those issues. And it leads to you not wasting so much fucking time for like very little results. Okay, now I'm going to start answering questions that I actually came up with myself that I think are like the types of questions that would help people get to know a lot more about me. The first one is about my interests. What interests do I have? I spend a lot of time online. So I listen to a lot of music, and I used to spend a lot of time producing music. And I don't do it as much now, but I occasionally do, and I obviously want to get back into it. I also spend a lot of time online. I spend a lot of time paying attention to online political commentary shit and like a lot of the drama that happens within that shit. You know, probably a lot of time I waste and could spend doing more important shit. I browse a lot of like very edgy like internet communities and shit like that. I spend a lot of time like just paying attention to a lot of like online drama in like very edgy internet spaces, paying attention to a lot of like online figures, shit like that. I don't watch as much anymore, but I've mentioned before that I like Eggy, and I pay attention to. He doesn't really stream anymore, but I did spend. There was a period of time when I watched a lot of his content and his streams, and shit like that. Who Eggy is basically like just some like 4chan celebrity who deals with a lot of the issues I deal with and shit. I spend time like researching political and social topics and issues, including related to the shit that would be related to a lot of the issues relevant to me. I spend a lot of time learning about psychological shit. You know, it's a lot of wasted time and stuff like that, but I like learning about shit. You know, I also like spend time researching music genres and shit that I'm interested in like that. I've also spent a lot of time watching and paying attention to Fish Tank Live, which, hey, look, maybe that's cringe of me, but I find that shit interesting. The other thing I'll answer is like in terms of the music I like. I'm gonna talk about the music I like in a chronological order, in which order I got into. I first got into nu metal because I discovered Linkin Park. And because I found one of the songs in like a music video to a cartoon that I liked. And then that led to me getting into nu metal in general, like Slipknot, Korn, System of a Down, stuff like that. I also would listen to stuff like Bring Me the Horizon as well, and Green Day. I then started to get into an experimental, weird, ambient form of electronic music called intelligent dance music, or IDM, which includes artists like Aphex Twin, Balds of Canada, and stuff like that. You know, it's a general weird, trippy, experimental form of electronic music. I also started listening to ambient music, which is like a very emotive, atmospheric form of electronic music. You know, that includes a lot of drones, harmonies, like just shit like that, which included stuff by, you know, Aphex Twin, Brian Eno, Balds of Canada, and similar shit like that. I got into this because I was a big fan of David Firth, who is a animator that makes like weird, surreal like animations, and he'd use a lot of the music from the artists that I just mentioned in his creations. So that started to get me more interested in like electronic music. I then started to go on to listen to more rave dance, like underground rave dance music based stuff, like drum and bass and jungle, trance music, hardstyle, happy hardcore, UK hardcore, Eurodance, old school hardcore type shit. Just a lot of like rave music essentially. You know, I was listening to like dubstep, what else? Just like a lot of shit like that. I then started to listen to like stuff like post rock, which is like an experimental ambient form of rock music. This includes artists like Sigur Rós, or however you pronounce their name, Explosions in the Sky, This Will Destroy You, Crippled Black Phoenix, who else? God is an Astronaut, just shit like that. I then started to get into different forms of black metal, such as depressive suicidal black metal, atmospheric black metal, and a thing called black gaze. So these are all like really like emotional, ambient, like sad, melodic forms of black metal, and they include artists like Woods of Desolation, Zaytha, or however you pronounce their name, and stuff like that. And that like was a massive influence on like the type of shit I was into. I then started to listen to like an artist called Burial, who like was kind of associated with the UK dubstep scene, but was like more influenced by like a thing called like UK garage, and like included like, and was basically just made a genre, genre called future garage, which is like a mixture of like dubstep and UK garage, but like with a lot of ambient influences, a lot of experimental and ambient influences. I then started to get into like underground like cloud rap and like emo rap, and this would include stuff like Bones, Xavier Wolf, Chris Travis, the whole Sesh Hollow Water Boys, and like everyone associated, such as the producers like Drip 133, Drew the Architect, fucking like Grief. I started listening to stuff like Lil Peep, stuff like Suicide Boys, Ghost, a lot of the metal trap as well, like, you know, Ghost Main, Scar Lord. Fuck, there's a load. The whole emo trap stuff going into that, like 93 Feet of Smoke, Smirk Death, Lil Lotus, Shinigami, Scum, stuff like a Convolk. You know, I listen to a lot of the whole weird, like, hyper pop type shit. I listen to like some Midwest emo, but mainly like a lot of I listen to a lot of like Midwest emo instrumentals. But yeah, I like some Midwest emo. I like some Witch House stuff like that. You know, stuff like Sidewalks and Skeletons, Salem, shit like that. Axios Link, or however you pronounce their name. I also listen to like this like this new dark, like this scene core revival, like stuff like Canada 7, horror movies, Barely Human, which like a lot of this stuff is like takes like a lot of old scene music and then is kind of like a more updated version. And it also will, in the cases of artists like Canada 7, they'll like combine it with like Witch House influences and shit like that. I also listen to the whole e-punk genre, you know, artists. I don't really. I listen to some, like some Negative XP is okay, but I mainly listen to this artist called Neat, Death Tech, fucking Izumi is Dead, or Izumi. I can't remember the name. Izumi is Dead, or Izumi is Tired. Shit like that. What else? Who else do I listen to? Yeah, stuff like that. I listen to some Anhero. But yeah, I listen to like I like Cemetery and Ghost Mountain and all that stuff. Yeah, I listen to like I like Blade. I forgot Blade. How did I forget Blade? And like Young Lean and stuff like that. Yeah, I listen to like a lot of the cloud rap shit, underground trap shit. You know what? Yeah, I listen to like a wide variety of music, and like most of the genres that I listened to in the past, I still listen to today. Like I listen to most of, so I listen to most of the same stuff that I've always listened to, including the past stuff. I still like most of the music that I listened to in the past, with some exceptions. One question I'm going to answer is, what is my social life like? I basically have no social life. I had a few friends until I was like 7 or 8, but I lost contact with them when they went to different schools, and my parents did nothing to help me stay in contact with them. I struggled to make new friends after I lost them, and I basically had no friends from then on. I would have like acquaintances that I would hang out with sometimes at school, but I wouldn't hang out with them outside of school. And I'd have them for a short period of time, and then they'd just stop associating with me, either because they got sick of me or we had a fight. And a lot of the time they'd pick on me. A lot of the time they would like treat me as like the fucking person that everyone would like pick on and like make fun of, and just the butt of the joke and all that shit. And like not in like a friendly way a lot of the time, not in like a, you know, in a kind of really shitty where they just like all like to fucking rip on me essentially. I, you know, had some, you know, I basically haven't had really any friends. When I started trying to force myself to socialize, again, I started going to Speaker's Corner, and I talk to people there sometimes. And you know, to go into that, Speaker's Corner is like a place in like Hyde Park, London, where like you can talk to where like a lot of different speakers will come to talk about like religion or politics or their beliefs or shit like that. And you can talk to like people, just other the people there, and have conversations with them, whether that's the speakers or just the people attending, and just talk about loads of different topics. I basically go there because it's one of the few ways I can socialize. And I've also like tried talking to people online, like going into Discords and shit like that, and adding people off of like the social meetup board on 4chan. I've like got looked at like Discord servers and shit like that, and like I've added some people, and then I'd like kind of like talk to them, but like a lot of them would then like just go offline and shit like that. And just some of them are just kind of fucked up people, and just don't like have a lot of commitment to like talking to people and shit like that. So like they just kind of like leave, and then I'm kind of like back to being on my own again. But yeah, I'm just kind of used to being like on my own and shit. It's just I'm used to it. So another question I'm gonna answer is about what exactly is it that I have an issue with about my appearance, because a lot of people have probably heard me mention like being called ugly or treated badly because of my appearance, and I've seen some people a bit confused by that in the comments. So I'll kind of explain. I've been told that I've had like some weird kind of creepy abnormal facial features, and that these look kind of weird and with my when combined with my face shape. I've kind of I experience like a thing called traction alopecia and diffuse thinning, which is basically a form of hair loss that is caused by like environmental damage, and that's basically what traction alopecia is. And diffuse thinning is basically a type of hair loss characterized by a general and even decrease in hair density across the scalp, rather than the formation of specific bald patches. And this is due to like a lot of like damage that has happened to my hair over the years, and like I've not really had any support for a while. In like I didn't like I'd ask my parents about how to deal with it, and they'd just like dismiss me, and I didn't have like any friends. I don't have any friends, so I never had help from them. And like it like took a while to like find out about what to do about it, and like I'm taking like oral minoxidil and like other treatment for it. And like because of this, like my hair looks kind of, you can even see like some of it sticking out, and it looks kind of fucked and shit like that. So and that's like why I'm wearing this hat. So like I kind of like hide like my hair a lot because it looks like fucking shit. So that might be why people, because I hide the thing that looks the worst about me. But this like generally causes an issue, because it means I have to have my hair tied up, or like wear a hat or a hood and shit like that to make myself look a bit more presentable. And I can only really look good having like long hair and looking like a kind of, I hate the word, but looking like a twink, due to the facial features that I have, and like facial shape. That type of hairstyle and aesthetic is the only thing I can really have to look good. And my hair loss and damage to my hair has kind of like affected my ability to look like that. So I just kind of look like shit. I've been told that I look like the fucking Billions Must Die chud face. I've also been told that I look like the guy that tried to assassinate Donald Trump. So it seems like I don't, and because of my appearance, I've like that's like kind of what I've been ostracized for a lot of my life. And you can see that. And yeah, it just kind of fucking sucks. Yeah, that's just. And like I'm trying to work on and improve my appearance, because yeah, it just sucks. So, one question I'm going to answer, which might be controversial for some, but I don't know, is what my political beliefs are. I have like a variety of beliefs that can vary from center to somewhat left leaning to a lot of the times very far right. But I don't really support a lot of the right wing and a lot of the mainstream right wing and far right because I have like a very wide variety. I don't line up completely with my opinions. So I kind of jokingly use a term which is 4chan centrist, which basically means it's like a centrist that isn't a Reddit centrist. So a Reddit centrist is so a centrist is basically a person that has a mixture of that basically has political beliefs. The overall political beliefs means they cannot be placed completely on the left or right because they're not they just either because they have a mixture of different beliefs from both sides or because they are just like let enlightened centrist and just think everything is somewhere in the middle. A Reddit centrist is or what I call a Reddit centrist is a centrist that basically has beliefs that essentially are neither on the left or right, but essentially just conform are right are just completely they have beliefs that aren't on the completely firmly on the left or right, but they basically enable the status quo. They basically are only beliefs that are considered socially acceptable and basically beliefs that make them as socially acceptable to the mainstream left and right and liberals, the liberal center. And this is just a lot of time cowardly motherfuckers who just want to be socially accepted. Whereas what I call a 4chan centrist is basically a centrist that isn't necessarily on the left or right, but has like opinions that go outside of what is socially acceptable. So this can include maybe a lot of far right, far left, center left, just a lot of beliefs that go outside of what is considered socially acceptable. And I consider myself kind of a 4chan centrist to being far right politically. A large amount of my beliefs revolve around opposing left wing and progressive, like intersectional politics, like what people, I hate the term, but what people call woke. It also includes opposing like mainstream liberalism, which is not the same as left wing politics, and opposing mainstream centrism and mainstream right wing politics. I oppose a lot of the left wing intersectional politics because it's very, a lot of the beliefs they have are racist towards white people and sexist or misandristic towards men. And like, I have a serious fucking issue with that shit. They also specifically hate socially and just they specifically hate socially disadvantaged men and white men specifically even more than they hate the average white man because they will brand like any disadvantaged white man as like a incel or a loser like neckbeard basement dweller. So like they have a lot of hatred towards people who like a lot of the types of people who are in like neat and hikikomori communities get a lot of hatred from the mainstream left-wing politics. So I think it's important to um oppose it. I also noticed that disproportionately there are a lot of demographics that disproportionately hold these types of belief. And that causes this might be a controversial thing, that causes a lot of fucking anger and frustration. I don't believe hating every individual of a group, but I do believe, right, that you can notice negative patterns and feel a certain type of way about that shit. I also disagree with a lot of the right wing, like trad cuck, fucking capitalist, traditional conservative religious shit. I don't agree with a lot of that shit. I kind of oppose that as well. And I believe a lot of mainstream centrism and liberal politics basically just includes largely a lot of a more a lot of the largely a lot of the shitty left-wing politics I hate, but like more watered down. And it also includes a lot of the fucking shitty aspects of right-wing politics to an extent, but again just a bit more watered down. So by default, by that fact, I have to fucking oppose liberalism and centrism as well, or at least mainstream centrism. The reason I developed these beliefs is because one of the I've mentioned before about how I tried to become a music producer, and I found a lot of the left-wing beliefs that I talked about in these music communities, these music scenes. And because of that, it meant in short I would be ostracized from these scenes, which meant it meant that I lost a opportunity to I lost it contributed to me losing my opportunity to make a music career. And it also meant that I lost sources of making friends, because one of the ways I would have made friends is people in electronic music or in music communities, because those are the people I thought I was supposed to have something in common with. But it turns out those fucking people hate me the most. So that caused me to lose a source of support socially and a career opportunity. And I noticed that it's just in a large amount, a lot of these politics are in a large amount of society in general, and causing a lot of society to hate someone like me. And that's kind of depressing, you know. So that kind of like radicalized me to some extent. And you know, while looking at a lot of right wing communities, I find that they fucking suck as well. They're not in my best interest either. So yeah, a lot of shit in society radicalized me. One question that I'm sure a lot of people are wondering that I should answer is what in summary, what caused me to be in the situation that I'm in today? And that could be summarized as I faced a lot of social ostracization, abuse, and rejection from people my entire life, including the people at my school, the people, my own family, and this made it hard for me to make friends and gain sources of social support and develop any social support systems, which meant that I was left alone to deal with the problems that that I've been dealing with in life, and like didn't have any like support or help in like overcoming a lot of the difficulties that I had in life. So it became like overwhelming and too much for me to deal with on my own. And yeah, I was neglected by my parents a lot, so they didn't fucking help me, and they caused a lot of the issues as well through the way they treated me. I ended up struggling a lot with my transition into adulthood and all the responsibilities and expectations that would come along with it. And I had a large amount of pressure put on me by my family and just society in general. And I wasn't given any fucking support in overcoming these issues and dealing with these difficulties, in adjusting to adulthood and improving my life, improving my skills, improving my life skills, and working towards my career that I wanted to do. So this contributed me to experiencing the autistic burnout, which affected my cognitive abilities, my emotional regulation, and my caused me to lose a lot of life skills, because that's what it does. And like I just became like, and it also contributed to a lot of sleeping problems, which affects my mental state as well. So it just like affected my ability to improve my situation, and caused me to become a hikikomori and a neat. And you know, there's nowhere in society that I feel that I can find support, because of the thing that I mentioned about how society is kind of hateful to people like me. And you know, I lost my opportunity to have a music career because of the things I mentioned earlier, and also because I just never like got any support with my music career, which meant that I struggled to like improve my skills and talents in making music, which meant I ended up struggling with like a lot of that, like just creating music, and I just eventually realized it was too difficult and unlikely to do, so I just kind of gave up. And like when I realized the scene's filled with a lot of shitty people, I didn't really fucking feel the enthusiasm for it anymore. But I'll go into that more in a future video. One question I'm going to ask is, what is a lot of the bullying and social ostracization that I faced in my life? A lot of the mistreatment I have experienced was just general like social rejection and neglect from my peers and even my family, and like some emotional and physical abuse to an extent. It's not like extreme as extreme as some people. I've also had people like kind of just insult me, denigrate me, um, treat me with general hostility, and in some cases be violent, somewhat violent to me, and and threaten me with violence. Not anything, not extreme, but not very pleasant. And I've also like been, I'm also just generally denigrated and ostracized by society because they view me as like some white male social reject loser and shit. So I just kind of feel, I kind of feel like Joker. I kind of feel like Arthur Fleck in Joker when he's like watching the news and like he seems like Thomas Wayne like shitting on him, or like when he sees Murray like making fun of him, and he just like realizes just general society, the general social consensus on someone like him is just not very positive. And that's kind of how I feel. Now, the final question that I'll answer is, what do I plan on doing with my channel? So I plan to start making I I plan to start making videos talking about myself, my interests, or other stuff relevant to me like this, but I'm also going to start doing streaming. That's what I intend to do. I intend to stream. And I'll be like doing a lot of commentating and reacting to stuff like political related shit related to a lot of the issues I deal with, stuff related to like edgy internet culture, reacting to just silly videos and listen and music and shit like that, and just like fun shit, hopefully. I also like intend, I also intend to like try and make music, although that's not going to be the main thing that I'm doing. It's going to be an aspect, but it's not going to be the main thing. I also have got an upcoming video series where I go into detail about the aspects of my and factors in my life that led me to where I am. So I'll go into things like my family life, my school life, you know, stuff like that, my attempt at becoming an electronic music producer, stuff like that. That I'll go into like a lot of detail. And I've already recorded a few videos in that series. I haven't edited them yet. I haven't edited them yet, and there's still more to record, but that's going to be coming soon. I'm really sorry I haven't updated this channel as much as I want. I'm dealing with a lot of problems in my life that's kind of affecting me and shit like that. But yeah, hopefully this will be a fucking thing. And I hate to be greedy, but I'm gonna add my PayPal in the description. And no one here is expected to donate, but it will be very much appreciated. But I understand because a lot of people in who are watching are not people who are like financially well off, so I don't expect them to like donate. But if they want to, it would be appreciated, because I'm fucking broke as shit. But yeah, there's gonna be more stuff to come, and I hope you all enjoyed this video.